The whole concept of this boat is to scare fish. It's not to catch fish. I mean, we might be catching them into a block net or a beach seine, but the idea is to drive fish through funnels or out of an area to catch them more efficiently. And so this boat uses both sound and electricity. These anodes might look a little funny to you, but the whole concept is to scare the fish. So we're using spheres to kind of reduce the voltage gradient near the anodes and spread it out further so that we're scaring fish in a much larger area. We have these deep water droppers or cables that's exposed here, and I got about 6 inches of exposed wire, and that kind of helps get some of those holes down there at deeper water depth. And I've developed a standardized goal table for this so that we can account for different changing conductivities. And from my experience, I've been seeing fish jump away 20 meters away from the boat, and you might have seen some of that. Similar results with a traditional electrofishing boat where you turn on the power and you see fish jumping from a long distance away. But the idea here is that it's not so intense here next to the anodes that we're not immobilizing fish. We're trying to keep them mobile and scaring them away. But if anybody has any questions, go ahead and interrupt me. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the sound. So we're using these underwater speakers, and they're designed for swimming competitions so that people can hear sound under the water when they're swimming. And we're able to use these for emitting sound. In the past, USGS has used a loud boat motor recording, and from some preliminary data collection in the field, this loud metal percussion sound seems to do the trick. We're able to get 160 decibels of sound right here near the speaker, and we're emitting sound out a kilometer away at 130 decibels. So it's louder than ambient noise, and so fish can pick this up from a very long way away. And it takes a few things that get the sound to the speakers. We got a 12-volt battery that's powering this amp, and this amp's also sold by Lubell Labs, and so that we can hook an MP3 player up to it, and you could play any sound you want. But from our experience, like this loud percussion sound seems to be doing the trick for us. And I could go ahead and show you guys that. Obviously, I don't have it turned up very loud, but out of the water, it'll do 130 decibels. But in the water, sound is much more efficient at going further, so it's 160 decibels under the water. So if you were to have your head under the water right near the speaker, it probably hurts you pretty bad.
Yeah, that was sort of my question. That's definitely in the range of hearing damage.
Absolutely.
For fish, is that an issue at all? I mean, I'm not personally either.
For the fish, that's something we have looked into. If we're deafening fish, and
you are.
We could be, yeah, right up next to the speakers.
Yeah, you would be.
But the idea is that these fish are being driven,
right.
And so hopefully they're not sticking around the speakers that close.
Probably not.
They're probably zooming off.
You're right about these issues, and I just
yeah.
need to understand.
Yeah, these are some things that Robin Calfee has researched, so she might be the better person to, if you got questions, to follow up with. Some other things. So the commercial fishing method, where you're tilling up the motor and you're spraying water and you're pounding on the hull of the boat, and you kind of hope that you're sending a lot of that sound into the water, but unfortunately, whenever you're pounding on the boat, a lot of that noise is just being reflected up, and it's not being transferred into the water very well. And so I got a heat map of that I can show you all tomorrow to kind of give you an idea of how this sound is traveling through the water.
Do you have a sense of at what distance the fish are responding to the sound?
So last year, as part of like this ongoing study of herding fish, we use an underwater Ditson sonar, and we're watching fish zoom by. And that's something I still need to tease out, but these fish are definitely reacting at least half a kilometer away, that we'll see fish, a big ball of fish push down along the bank. And
that's a higher volume of sound than we're playing at these fish deterrents in the blocks and dams themselves.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere near that high.
Yeah, so this is more of, yeah, it's an active kind of gear, so it's not something that's being used. Obviously, there are things that we still need to figure out, but
no, I mean, I think you should test it. Don't get
it
wrong.
Absolutely.
One of the things that seems to us in the field anyway with this kind of gear is, you know, what has not worked well is if you have a concentration of fish and you want to move them out of there, and you don't drive your boat up and turn on this thing that's full blast right on top of them, they just kind of go wild and they don't go in any direction that you want them to. But and it seems to have worked really well at Creve Coeur and other places. We just think about your field that you're pushing the fish is really far from you.
Right.
And the sound reaches way farther than electricity. And so that what we're trying to do, I think, is whether or not this is what the fish really experience, I can't really tell you. But what we're trying to get to is, you know, that we're warning them that the electricity is coming with the sound, and by the time the electricity gets there, after a time they get acclimated to that, you know, and so that they, you know, the sound they drives them at first, but after a while I think they say, okay, well, but after a while they're going to figure out that if I don't get the hell out of the way when the electricity and the sound is here, pretty soon I'm going to get the electricity too, and they don't like that. So that's the kind of the goal.
When you watch them, do they move in kind of a directional sense at all? Or
they like to move along the bank from what I've seen so far.
So they're just moving to the bank.
Yeah, they might move lateral and then, but
no, that makes perfect sense.
the sampling design that we had set up, we had a long block net stretched down a tributary, and then we were pushing them through a 4.5 meter opening, and so they were fine to get pushed down the bank along that, through that opening. I didn't see a whole lot of fish moving down the block net. So I got a feeling that those fish are hitting the block net and doing a 180, coming back to the sound until they finally go to the bank and find their way out. That would be my guess. And another thing, nice thing about these speaker setup is that they're on a mount that can kind of move back and forth, so that whenever you get on plane or something, it's really quick and easy to pick them up. They're also grounded to the boat, so that they're in continuity with the hull of the boat. Is there any other questions? You can turn them on and off, so it's powered by an MP3 player, so it's as quick as hitting a button. The sound field?
Yeah, how directional is it?
So it's omnidirectional, it's going everywhere. Yeah. Just to put more sound into the water. You probably could get away with one. Yeah. Trying to find something that works, and then we could play with it from there. So.
Could you talk about the potential that you might deafen the fish?
There is a potential for that, yeah, and that could be a potential thing for native species too, if you're deafening native species. Yeah.
They should recover. Getting the complex. They actually have the ability to regenerate their hearing.
Yeah, it would be short term, but if you're trying to drive fish with sound, last thing you want to do is make them deaf.
Yeah.
So another good reason not to pull right up to the school and turn on the sound and turn all those fish deaf, and then you can't do anything.
Yeah, and they're already kind of finicky, so there's really no reason to go full blast. Unless you're trying to drive an area that's really big, then you might want to turn it up a little bit, a little higher. So we're using this kind of thing in unified methods with shallow water unified methods where we're clearing out cells, and then also the deep water method in Dresden Island Pool, where we're just making our way down the river and trying to clear out the whole upper Illinois River. That's a multiple boat kind of operation, and the bigger the area, the more boats you're probably going to need as well.
Well, we've definitely seen fish respond through the telemetry. When you guys kick those on, you know, through telemetry, they just head straight downstream away from everything. So, yeah, it's great when you clear out an area, they don't want to turn and come back into it.
Any other questions?
Acclimation to the sound is something else. I mean, we know
Yeah.
from some of the experiments that Robin has run that over time that they do acclimate to the sound. That's one of the reasons we've trying to tie it up with electricity to kind of train them that you don't want to get acclimated. But the other thing is, when we ran the unified method of Creve Core, we didn't run the sound all the time, and we definitely as soon as we clear a cell, we turn it off immediately, and we're all connected by radio. So okay, everything on, electricity on, sound on, and we clear the cell. And then when everybody turns it off until we get positioned for the next run. I don't know if that's, we didn't test that against anything, but that is what we did, and it seemed to be successful.
Do you have any observations of native fish yet at all?
So the area we're working at is 95% silver carp. So as far as native species, Dwayne kind of touched on that a little bit, that they're more rooted, so they might tuck and hide in the brush, things like catfish and crappie, bass. And then silver carp are more likely to take off and vacate the area. So
he's done some testing, some sampling too of the fish that are coming through there in the area that he's just driven, and your catches are mostly carp. I mean, there's tons of carp and not much of anything else.
yeah, we threw out like basically every gear we had, and every gear caught a silver carp. So it was pretty remarkable. I guess that's all I have, and we can kind of do this stuff on the water.